Welcome to part 2 of this series on molt in shorebirds and other waterbirds. In part 1, we defined a plumage and a molt. A plumage is a set of feathers, a bit like a set of clothes. A molt is the process of developing a plumage, a bit like getting dressed in a new set of clothes. We said that in all birds there is at least one complete molt, the growth of a full set of new feathers in every molt cycle, which takes roughly a year to complete. We ended part 1 by saying that not many birds can survive a whole year with just a single set of feathers. Besides pre-basic molt, many birds have additional molts inserted into their molt cycle. Unlike pre-basic molt, these are usually not complete molts. The main inserted molt in the adult molt cycle is called pre-alternate molt, which results in alternate plumage. So we can now say that in the adult or definitive molt cycle, in addition to a complete pre-basic molt, which results in basic plumage, many birds have an inserted pre-alternate molt, resulting in alternate plumage in every molt cycle. The pre-alternate molt is usually incomplete. At this point, it is useful to differentiate between two categories of feathers: body feathers, including the wing coverts, and flight feathers, including primaries, secondaries, tertials, and tail feathers. Pre-alternate molt may be 1. Limited, some but not all body feathers and no flight feathers. This adult female Malaysian plover, photographed on the 3rd of July 2024, has completed breeding. We can see that all her wing coverts are extremely worn basic plumage feathers. However, there are some orange fringed scapulars and mantle feathers which, although still a few months old, are fresher than the very worn basic feathers. So I think this is an example of limited pre-alternate molt. Secondly, pre-alternate molt can be partial, when it includes most or all of the body feathers, but almost no flight feathers, except sometimes 1 to 3 tertials and 1 to 2 central tail feather pairs. Here's an example of partial pre-alternate molt. This adult sharp-tailed sandpiper was photographed on the 23rd of April 2021. Almost all of its body feathers are beautifully fresh, except for the outer lesser coverts. Additionally, it has replaced all 3 tertials and at least the central tail feathers. So this is an example of a partial pre-alternate molt. Thirdly, pre-alternate molt may be incomplete, in which all or most body feathers and some but not all flight feathers are replaced. And fourthly, pre-alternate molt can be complete, in which, you've guessed it, all body feathers and all flight feathers are replaced. By far the most common types of pre-alternate molt in shorebirds are limited and partial pre-alternate molt. As far as I know, Oriental pranicole is the only shorebird in the Oriental region which undergoes an incomplete or complete pre-alternate molt, replacing some or all of its flight feathers twice in a single molt cycle. This adult Oriental pranicole was photographed at a nesting colony on the 15th of May 2024. As you can see, it is in active pre-alternate primary molt. The innermost primary, P1, is just growing, and the old second primary, P2, has dropped out, creating a gap in the wing which will be filled by the new alternate feather. This bird probably stopped its molt once breeding began, before all the primaries and secondaries could be replaced. So it's an example of an incomplete pre-alternate molt. So to sum up, in part 2 we've learned that as well as a pre-basic molt, there is usually an additional molt in the molt cycle called pre-alternate molt. Pre-alternate molt produces alternate plumage, and this is rarely a complete molt. Usually it involves the replacement of body feathers and a variable number of flight feathers. In this video, we've learned that not all feathers are molted at the same time. But is there a fixed sequence in which feathers are molted, or are they just replaced haphazardly? We'll be looking at this in the next video, which will be called Molt Sequence. Thanks for watching. See you next time.